You're listening to From There to Here, a Star Trek Enterprise podcast. Hello, my name is Josh, and with me is
Justin.
Today we're reviewing Season 1, Episode 20, Oasis. Here's the plot synopsis from the IMDb. The crew of Enterprise searches for a seemingly abandoned ship on a desert planet. Are they really searching for it? They find it really quickly.
Yeah, they come upon it. They're not really looking for it.
What does that even mean? That doesn't make sense. That's not what we watched. This is rated a 7.0 out of 10 out of a total of 1,700 votes. And I think we're going to find that it does not live up to that rating. I don't know. What do you think? Okay.
I'm going to make you wait.
Okay.
So this has an original air date of April 3rd, 2002, directed by Jim Charleston, whose name I do not recognize.
Charleston.
This guest starred, of course, Renee. Is it Aubergenois? Is that how you say it? Okay, who of course played Odo in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, is that who he played?
Huh. And it also guest starred Annie Wershing. I think that's how you say it. Obviously, Odo, Renee playing Odo from Deep Space Nine. Annie Wershing, this was her first on-screen role. She would later appear in Star Trek Picard Season 2 as the Borg Queen. And she has sadly passed away.
Oh.
At 45. Too young.
Jeez.
Just too young.
What'd she die of?
Cancer.
Oh, jeez.
And unfortunately, as we would have suspected, though, Renee Aubergenois did point out the similarity between this episode and Shadow Play from Deep Space Nine.
That's what it was called. Okay.
And let's see, who said it? He pointed that out not as a criticism, but as an example that, quote, there will be recurring themes in a show in total as long-lasting as Star Trek is. So you're bound to run into some...
It's a polite way of saying you guys kind of snuck into the writer's room of the other show, didn't you?
Themes are one thing. This is actual, almost the same episode.
Plot,
yeah,
basically.
There's a difference. Themes of like a father fighting against a son, that's a theme. This is holograms created by a guy who is sad and wants to have people to talk to with his little kid.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
That's a different... Yeah, you're right. That is him being very kind.
Mm-hmm. Nice way to put it.
Yeah, nice way to put it.
I'd just like to collect a check, please.
So,
well,
where do we want to go?
When I think it was probably after the teaser that I noticed. I think because they were zooming in on the ship, I think. Like on the crashed ship on the planet. I was like, wait a second. I started having flashbacks because I think I said during last week's pod, I didn't remember what this was. Yeah. And I thought I did. But it's not what I thought it was. I did not think it was this.
Right.
I thought it was completely something different. And I was like, wait a second. Then I started a flashback. I was like, wait a minute. Is this the one with are they like all holograms on the ship? I was like, wait. That's Deep Space Nine or Voyager. I'm getting this. Wait, I'm on the wrong series. And I was like, wait a second. As the episode went along, I was like, wait, this is that one. Then what the hell am I thinking of? And then you just called it Shadow Play. I was like, okay.
I think every series has done this episode.
Really?
Deep Space Nine, obviously. I want to say Voyager did one, but I can't remember what it was called. I remember just watching it. I want to say I feel like it's a first season episode.
See, I was really caught between if it was DS9 or Voyager. I couldn't.
They both done it.
What did Voyager do?
Voyager, I want to say it was B'Elanna that figured it out, and Chakotay. I forget what the circumstance was, but they were also outside.
One of the early episodes,
something like that. All I know is I've seen something like it. I couldn't tell you exactly. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am thinking of Deep Space Nine, but okay. I really feel like Voyager did it also.
TNG didn't have an episode like this.
No. But even if they did, they'd have been the first. So, they can't claim they were copying anyone.
I would say that this episode, it was definitely, it's a step down from last week, which was Acquisition, which was a fun one.
Right.
It's in the same ballpark as the one that was Rogue Planet. I was like, what was that one we didn't like? Rogue Planet from 2 weeks ago, which was just a complete wash of an episode. This one was a step above. It was a little bit more interesting.
It was made a little bit more interesting because the girl is more
It seemed the story was a little bit more competently constructed, I guess.
Yeah, but you see it coming a mile away.
Well, no, the whole episode, I'm like, okay, we know what it is already. Would you figure it out?
We know Star Trek doesn't do ghosts, so obviously they're holograms.
Well, you know what? I was like, okay, that was in the teaser. The teaser was they're having a dinner with someone they just ran into. He's a fish-looking guy.
Tom Bergeron.
Okay. And he's mentioning like, oh, you're looking for a certain kind of supply. You might want to check this planet out, but be careful. There's a ship down there. And they might not want you there. He's like, I thought there was no life sign. They're like, well, then what do you mean? Who gave you problems down on the surface if there were no life signs? He's like, well, yes, exactly.
That's what I said. Mm-hmm.
And then Trip is like, ghosts. And then it's like, bum.
Yeah.
Roll credits. I'm like, oh, okay. It's not really going to be ghosts. What's
Obviously
it going to be? I don't know. They don't do ghosts in Star Trek.
No, they don't.
No. So, well, they got close.
When?
In that classic Star Trek The Next Generation episode that I suddenly can't remember the name of.
I'm waiting on you.
It's called...
what? Describe the plot.
Crusher episode where she goes to the Ireland planet.
Crusher. I thought you said original series.
No,
I misunderstood.
no.
Okay, yeah.
What am I thinking of? What's the title of that episode?
Oh, that's you're an island on an alien planet. What?
I told you don't light that candle.
Ronin.
Ronin.
Oh my
yes.
God, what's it called?
I don't know. Sub Rosa.
Sub Rosa. It's
okay.
so subpar. We can't remember Sub Rosa.
Shamefully, I've watched that episode a good amount of times. But
it's so bad. It's fun. Honestly,
it's so goofy. It's enjoyable.
Yeah,
but that was like a sort
and
of.
And I like what's his Duncan Rhaegar.
Yeah, the guy that plays him.
Yeah.
That's Dracula.
Of course,
from the Monster Squad.
I know
that guy's awesome.
And he's in Deep Space Nine, of course.
Oh yeah, who is he in Deep Space
He's
Nine?
Kira's old
oh yeah, that guy.
Boss.
Yeah,
guy.
Not Bareil. That's the other one.
Oh my gosh, now I'm drawing a blank on his name. Bert. No, you just said Bareil.
Is he a Vedic? He's a Vedic, right?
No, he becomes a politician. He was her resistance leader.
Right. But he and Odo.
Shakar.
Shakar.
The Shakar resistance cell.
Yeah, Shakar.
And he's a very commanding presence, and he definitely still
the reason
got
why
it.
he was Dracula.
Yeah. And let's not talk about that crap episode.
Oh, Sub Rosa?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, it was more enjoyable than this.
I'll say that. It is more fun.
Because it was so goofy.
Gosh darn it. What? Even bland episodes of Voyager are generally speaking more interesting than the bland episodes of Enterprise.
Would you say interesting or entertaining? I mean,
either one. Difference. It depends. I guess.
Well, give me give me something to compare it to. What's an average episode of Voyager? Or a bland one?
An episode of Voyager that I always found that I skipped on any sort of rewatch. I forget the title, but it's the one where they Janeway is stuck on a planet, and Joel Grey, the guy that played Chun in Remo Williams.
Yeah, that one.
I
don't remember.
And the guy thinks that's her daughter and all that. Exactly. I don't think about it.
Yeah.
But I caught most of it somewhat recently, and it's exactly what I remembered it to be. It's the performances are all fine. It's just forgettable. It's nothing of any real substance happens in there. It happens.
We had a Remo Williams reunion, and that's what they gave us?
I know. They still have. I remember, I'm going to tell a quick side story since we brought up Remo Williams.
Okay.
There was an episode of...
I'm sure all the Remo fans out there are going to love it.
Yeah. Okay. Back when they had the Rosie O'Donnell show.
Okay, this is a really long... Yeah. We're going back to the 90s.
Yeah. Okay. And Kate Mulgrew was on it.
I remember. They were on the show together.
Right. And she's talking about Voyager, and she goes, blah, 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 are they going to get home? She's like, it's Star Trek. Of course they're going to get home. And they weren't even like close to the 7th season. Yeah, she's like, don't be stupid. It's Star Trek. But then Joel Grey came out, and she... Now, this is, of course, after Remo Williams, so she knew him from that. She knew him from Broadway and all that stuff. Those two might have... Rosie should have just left, because those two just turned and talked to each other the whole time. They were just so thrilled to be in the same room together.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was my story.
But they couldn't bring up the movie they were in.
No, they didn't. But then that episode also stars the guy that he played a Romulan, I think, in TNG. A very slow-speaking Romulan.
Joel Grey did?
No, the guy that was also in that episode with Joel Grey of Voyager.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. I suggest you turn around now. Like, he had a very very slow cadence to his speech.
All right.
But anyway, and he was in this one, and he played exactly the same character, and he was still perfectly fun to watch being bad. So I don't know what it is. Like I'm trying to say, even the bland episodes of Voyager are more entertaining than the bland episodes of like Enterprise. When it's bland, puts me to sleep.
Yeah,
I don't know why. We've already talked about the color palette, how it's very drab.
Yeah.
But that episode of Voyager was very drab because they were like underground, everything's kind of browns and all that stuff. But still, it manages to keep your interest. This stuff, this Rogue Planet, it's I don't know what is it about this series that makes episodes like this so painfully dull. What is it? Do you know? I don't.
Maybe we don't find the characters as interesting. Maybe it's an
Is it that
unconscious
simple?
feeling towards
Is it just that
the
simple?
characters.
I mean, you don't like Janeway.
No.
I've come to appreciate what Janeway is and what she represents, but even a Harry episode is more interesting than this.
That's what I saw earlier today. That Harry episode that I don't like, which is actually kind of bad.
Beowulf? The Beowulf
No,
one?
no, not that one. No, this is like a bland one. It was he wakes up in San Francisco,
Right, and it's like he
thinks
never
he's
got
in it.
on Voyager,
And
all
the
that.
guy that's working the cafe is actually the one
I like that
responsible for it all.
episode.
I don't like it at all.
I don't find it bland.
No, it's the writing was terrible.
I enjoyed it for what
Paris was
the
fun,
writing
right?
wasn't great. Paris is great. Yeah, as soon as he finds Paris,
Yeah, but
it
like
gets
they
interesting.
didn't give Garrett Wang really
Much
anything
to do.
much to
No.
chew on. It was
No.
really kind of like, okay, let's just go by the numbers here.
Sure.
And it was kind of like, are we going to flush this toilet down the episode?
It was
already?
nice to just be out of the ship. I guess it was kind of enjoyable,
Maybe
and
we
to see.
maybe we should talk about Enterprise.
We'll see what we mean. Anything is more.
We don't want to
interesting
talk
than
about
these
it because
bland
this episode
episodes.
was just bland. It was not as bland
even
as
no,
Rogue
it was
Planet.
not as bland
No.
as bland as Rogue Planet.
Yeah.
But even Rene Auberjonois could not save
Well,
this.
he was barely in it.
He was barely in it. It wasn't about him.
It should be a crime not to
It
use
is.
him.
Yeah. How do you have one of the Star Trek people
Yeah.
on there and it's not
give him
really
anything to do.
about him?
No.
And yeah, and on top of it, don't give him something interesting to do.
Mm-hmm.
He could have been played by anyone. Any actor could have
Mm-hmm.
played that, and it would have been exactly the same.
There was a few decent scenes in this episode.
Sure.
I chuckled. The decent scenes mostly came from the two interactions that we had with Trip and T'Pol. One of those two together,
Right.
It's usually fun.
They're really starting to develop their dynamic where
Yes.
they just mess with each other at all
Yes.
times.
I mean, in the beginning when they arrive down on the ship, and it's if you don't remember this episode very much, I don't blame you.
Yeah, you're forgiven.
It's it looks like a kind of we thought it was a Star Destroyer, basically. That's what it looks like from
the top.
from orbit. That's what it looks like. But anyway, they get down. It looks like a freighter / Star Destroyer, and it's not in very good shape. They get on there, the lights are off, and it looks empty, it looks deserted, but it's spooky. It's spooky, Like what's it? Travis says, "Huh? If everyone left, then why is the door closed?" Ooh.
But instead of capitalizing on that, they
Yes.
just ignore it.
No,
and
they
move
just
on.
no, they don't. They don't build up the tension. long enough.
I gotta say, if there's a recurring theme in Enterprise, it's the
wasted
theme.
opportunities.
Well, it's that. There's another one.
Okay.
Which is also, what is Archer going to ignore this week?
oh, yeah, right.
He ignores absolutely everyone.
All the red flags.
T'Pol telling him, "Hey, don't do this. Blank, blank. This is why." Forget it. It'll be fine. He sounds like the critical drinker. F it. It'll be fine.
What did
Travis
he-
tells him, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't raid someone else's ship. It could be bodies down there." F it. It'll be
Did Travis
fine.
actually say that?
Yeah, he said it right there in the beginning. Before they go down, he says, "Sir," he's actually the voice of reason in that moment. And he goes, "Sir, but that could be the tomb of this, of the crew of that ship. Maybe we shouldn't be looting it." And someone says, "Well, we didn't detect any bodies." And he goes, "Yeah, it'll be fine." And that leads to, I think, probably my favorite line, which is just a throwaway
We
line.
need to come up with. Remember last
Yeah.
week we
the awards.
we established the awards. We have the Janeway Country Music Award, which is my personal favorite. The Shatner Best Dramatic Performance.
Yes.
I think we need to give one now. Create one because of what Archer's doing, and name it after the captain.
Well, it should be a Janeway Award because it's ignoring what everyone tells you, which is
another Janeway Award.
Well, that is very fitting. I mean, that is Janeway's defining characteristic. Okay. Everyone, give me your ideas. Great. Now I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
I'm going to do anyway. Then you got to come up with a clever name for it. Then
yeah. Okay. I'll think on that.
Okay.
As we talk, but no,
Janeway's getting a lot of love on this podcast.
I do like Janeway, but as they gather up the landing party to leave, Archer looks back to Travis and goes, "You're driving." I just love that. That's how he phrased it. He said, "You're driving."
No, I noticed that line too. It popped out.
I liked it. It's very modern day, of course, but
they wear hats in this show, remember? And they wear jeans.
And they wear jeans. No, I just loved it. You're driving. That was great. That's the only part that I found.
Would have been great if he tossed him a set of keys too.
Yeah.
Don't scratch it.
Yeah. They are just so bloody deathly afraid of making Travis interesting. Right when they're about to give him something interesting, they take it away. You know,
what could they have done?
Well, he does that bit about maybe we shouldn't loot someone's ship.
Oh yeah.
And then he goes down there. If he left in a hurry, why is that door closed?
Yeah.
Good question. Well, let's move on.
Well, anyway.
You know, it's like he starts to get interesting and then they pull the rug out from under him and it's so frustrating. And he always has to have that eager beaver smile on his face, which
eager beaver
is
that's kind of constant when it comes to him.
Oh my gosh. It's because they don't know what to do with his character. His character would have more space legs than anyone else on that ship. Mm-hmm. He should be the coolest in situations, and sometimes he is. But they just give him the young pup look every time.
Oh, young pup.
You young pup.
Yeah, that's true. They haven't really given him anything to do. Not really.
No, they never do.
Nothing really interesting. I mean, I think the most fun he had was when they had him up on that comet with
building the snowman. Sure.
Yeah, that was fine, but it wasn't a deep exploration of his character or anything like that.
No, and even the episode that did when they had a chance, when they found that other freighter crew, they don't use him.
No,
not really to his fullest extent at all.
A little,
but certainly didn't capitalize on it, and then they just forget about him after that. Very frustrating.
Yeah. So as the episode kind of proceeds, it didn't really take. As I said, I was unsure. Like, was this the hologram thing? Because I was getting it confused. As it went along, I thought I figured it out. Okay, yeah, they're clearly holograms.
Right.
Like, there's clearly too much weirdness going on because that ghost thing is easily turned around when they trip into Pollard walking around the corridors. They see somebody actually moving around. They follow them. They find this big group of people. I was like, okay, so it's not ghosts because obviously that's just a red herring or whatnot or. I don't know.
Just like it's never
trick,
never really a god. It's always a guy behind the curtain. You always know with Star Trek it's going to be a certain
But I thought,
thing.
okay, I was like, okay, well, I knew they weren't going to do that. So when they reveal it that it's people, I was like, okay. Still, there's going to be a twist. There's a twist coming because this clearly isn't going to be the answer. These people are telling them, oh, yeah, we crashed, a few years ago. We were actually attacked. And, it was a very obvious moment of exposition where each character is taking a turn telling a part of the story. I think Renee jumps in at one point. But anyway, they say that they were shot down and like, okay, well, clearly they're lying about something. It's obvious. So what is it exactly? Yeah. Why they didn't take that opportunity to do something a little bit more clever? Because holograms, ghosts, kind of one and the same. I mean, we're getting close to the same. That's what Shadowplay was, right? It was exactly the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing. And they only in Shadowplay they interact more with some of the people that really don't realize they're holograms, whereas in this they really just interact with the girl.
Like, do you remember? Okay,
Odo.
Do you remember that movie? Of course, I know you remember this for the people listening, but
what movie?
Steve Guttenberg.
High Spirits.
High Spirits. They pulled that twist on the haunted castle where it's a tourist trap to get people to go to this castle because they think it's haunted, but it's really the staff pretending that it's haunted. And
in reality, it actually is.
But then it turns out in reality to actually be haunted and end up scaring even the staff. And I was like, that was a fun twist.
What a great twist.
And I was like, they could have done something fun like this.
No, but then it wouldn't have been bland.
What? Well, I know
just
it would
like
have been
the
bland,
music.
But that's what would have made it better if they just,
I know that.
Pulled out. They're missing an opportunity here.
I know. I don't know why. I just don't know why.
They kind of just gave us exactly what we expected. And it seems like a shame.
What about the Janeway Award for the advice that you just didn't take?
It's
A line from Alanis Morissette?
It's too wordy.
Well, it has to be the Captain Janeway
From the
Award.
ironic song?
Yeah.
How about the Janeway Irony Award?
But it's not irony.
I know, but we know what it means. Well, the Country Music Award has nothing to do with music.
All right. The irony is you asked, but I wasn't really looking for an answer. So.
Okay. I mean, that's... I think that's okay. We can work on it. Okay.
All right.
But Trip gets a chance to shine. The writers really seem to like Trip a lot. They're using Trip a lot.
They're obviously really discovering that there's a lot of untapped potential in that character, and they're starting to play with him. And I think it was probably them seeing how Connor Trenier read on screen. You know, if you're
maybe they were getting fan mail like, oh, we really like Connor Trenier.
It could be. I mean, he is interesting. You know, he was the one that was awake at least at the beginning of Acquisition.
That's
know,
right.
He's
the Die Hard episode from last week.
He does have a quality, and obviously they're picking up on it, just like they're obviously picking up on the chemistry between he and T'Pol. You know, and they're starting to capitalize on all those things, and then shoving everybody else into a dark corner. You know, unfortunately, we haven't got anything interesting from the Doctor since Dear Doctor.
I know.
I can't even remember if Hoshi's even still on the show.
She had one line.
Yeah, she's barely there.
Yeah.
Malcolm, you know, he's in and out. But then
they're really trying to do the Holy Trinity,
the
here.
big three, which at the very beginning felt a little forced. Yeah. But then as the characters evolved, then it became more natural when they, and I think they found this unexpectedly, the connection between T'Pol and Trip. I think they expected that to just play like Spock and Bones, where they would just always bicker. I don't think at all that they expected that they would have those two get together as a couple. I don't think they ever saw that coming until those two on screen proved to be a good mix. You know,
are you saying that like Dr. McCoy was secretly in love with Spock?
No, I'm saying Spock was in love with McCoy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess they really were trying to do that Holy Trinity thing.
Oh, they definitely were.
And that's why these other characters really aren't getting a lot of play,
which
is
I
shame.
Don't care. The problem is that every show since TNG has tried to make it an ensemble. And that's fine.
Yeah. And it works.
TOS did not try to make it like everyone on that crew was equal screen time. You know what I mean?
No.
Scotty got the most play out of everyone else,
right?
Because his job required it. And then everyone else got a bit as their part required it. But TNG, man, lightning in a bottle. It was everything just coalesced. It was mainly a Picard, Data, Riker show, but you'd have full episodes, multiple episodes about Beverly or about Geordi or whatever. Troy. Everyone, that felt like a true ensemble.
I have to find you
to tell you. Everyone,
really
no. And then of course they get to the movies and they flush that all down the toilet.
Yep.
But for the series, it was a genuine ensemble. When they sat together in a briefing room, every voice mattered. On Voyager, doesn't at all. Why do they bother sitting in there? I don't know why Janeway wastes time with meetings, because she ignores everyone.
No, she doesn't listen.
Which is fine. That makes her character interesting to me. But DS9, a true ensemble, beautifully written. It's a miracle that show worked out the way it did, given Star Trek's history. And Voyager somehow managed to pull it off. When you're on the bridge, when they're having a battle situation, it could just be cardboard cutouts doing what they do. It's all about Janeway, right? Because that's just what Janeway does. It's hit the buttons I tell you to hit and everything will be fine. That show for me gets interesting when they're off the bridge, because that's when the characters shine. In my opinion, the show was always it's not the 7 of 9 show. To me, it's always the Janeway and the Tom Paris show. But that's where the crew got interesting. They started to develop dynamics that I found compelling. Yeah, and the characters really, the personalities of the actors shine through. With this, man, it's like they're fighting tooth and nail to.
Well, we got to remember we're still very early on here.
But still, Star Trek is a developed property at this point.
This is a series that's only 20 episodes in right now.
I understand that.
They don't have their footing quite yet.
I know.
We know these characters develop better later on.
Granted, but for what is this now? 1, 2, 3, 4. For being the 5th or 6th, if you're counting the animated series, Star Trek series, we shouldn't be looking at bland episodes. We can see characters develop and all that, but they should have figured out this formula by now. Stop. I know, I can only imagine how difficult it must be to come up with some idea that has not been done before. But if you're going to repeat a story, don't pick the generic bland ones. If you're going to redo something, and they knew this was a direct, well, I'm just going to say, rip-off of another episode.
Don't feel bad about that.
It wasn't even great by itself.
Shadowplay was better.
Shadowplay was better, but It's not like it's DS9's finest moment.
No.
At least do something interesting, I don't get it. I mean, they hit gold with Dear Doctor, right? I mean, and they have even the episode that they allude to in this episode, the one where Trip gets pregnant.
Oh yeah, unexpected. No, that was great. They did talk. They brought up a previous episode,
which of course they brought that up for 2 reasons. One, because it was T'Pol messing with Trip, but also because they were trying to give you a clue from the start. Oh, this is a holodeck, because he goes, this technology looks like the one I saw on that one ship.
Yeah,
and that's all fine, but man,
a little bit of a hint early on.
Yeah, geez, if you're gonna do this thing where they're all holograms, give it a twist. Give it something different, and there is no twist. It's all just, okay, well, we'll fix your thing. Bye.
Yeah.
Give me something interesting to hold on to.
Yeah.
Because there's just nothing.
It was very akin to like Rogue Planet, where they were like, oh, so you're like hunting on this planet? Oh, can we join you? Okay. It was like, is that going to be the whole episode?
I mean, look at something like TNG's Masterpiece Society.
Oh, that's a good one.
No, I enjoy that episode. I enjoy
it.
I like that actor, that guy. He's just got a quality.
You mean Centurion Baccarat?
Yeah, Baccarat. Had the episode not come to the conclusion that it did, it probably would have been, I don't want to say forgettable, but not as interesting.
Wait, do you mean Masterpiece or this one?
Masterpiece.
Okay.
Where they think they've got it all figured out, but then, they threw a little wrench in the works where the girl working on it is sabotaging
faked,
it.
Oh, yeah,
because she wants it to fail. She wants to leave.
Yeah, that's right.
And it creates an extra, not the third act, but an extra 10 minutes where they're dealing with the repercussions of that. Mm-hmm. And then it took, it was fine. It made it more interesting. This has none of that, This wasn't even entertaining accidentally. That was completely.
Oh, I know you were going to go there.
Unintentional.
Your tone was too close.
Once I hit it, I knew I had to say it.
Yeah, well, there were, like I said, continuing on with what is the plot of this episode. So Trip does meet. Trip has this knack, I guess he's just a ladies' man, or he just falls into it. I don't know.
I think they pick Trip to do this with because outside of Archer, he's the most relatable. He's kind of a country boy, so so they put him in those situations because that's us. Malcolm's a little stiffer if he's by himself. Anyway, Hoshi has no personality at this point on the series yet.
She does.
She does.
They haven't given her anything to do the past couple episodes.
No, they pay her very well for just sitting there. And saying, it's open, radio frequency's open,
channel's open, sir.
This is what I was saying earlier, that just let it go. Why does Hoshi, as an example, have to be a main character on the show? We all know who Uhura is, and she has her moments here and there, but there was no illusion that she was part of the main Holy Trinity or anything like that. Not one bit.
Well, have they made the illusion that they are part of the main cast?
The way they cast these shows post TNG, it's that everyone's going to be the star. Everyone's equal. It's an ensemble, but it's not. Not in this case. And so, I don't know. I just think they themselves, the creators of Enterprise, are kind of hopelessly stuck
between two
in the formula to where they're afraid to break out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they did it with DS9. They broke the mold, and then they got afraid. And DS9 fully committed to the point where they're like, well, we're not going to do that again, even though fans loved it, right?
Well, not at the time.
You're right. Not at the time. So then they went safe and they did TNG Light with Voyager. And then people said, it's fine, but it's TNG Light. So they're like, so they give us the same thing again. Mm. And now they put it on the Enterprise again. And they cast all the major parts, you know, got to have a communications officer, got to have this, who says? Why? Why did any of the characters have to be cast with a recurring person that's in the credits? Just have it be the comm officer that day. You know, they could have cast Connor Trenier, Jolene Blaylock, and Scott Bakula, and probably Malcolm as like the main guys that you'll see all the time. Mm-hmm. And then just have Hoshi be a recurring character where you're not in the main credits, like Andrew Robinson as Garrick. He's damn near he's in so many of those episodes. You think he's a main character, but he's really not. So just have that be her. Have that be the Doctor, because it's almost like shortchanging them. And then we keep expecting. I mean, what's his name? Travis never gets anything. They throw him a bone here and there, but he never gets anything. Why bother? Because then all we look at it and see missed opportunities. That's all we see. You know? So this is it. Star Trek is over after this. You know, Star Trek of an era is over after this. And I can see why. Honestly, I enjoy Enterprise and I'm enjoying rewatching it, but I can see why it died. Because at this point, you can have a stinker, but you shouldn't have bland episodes. So bland that we either fall asleep or can't remember the plot right after we watched it. And we're 20 episodes deep, and there's 2 episodes right away that we can say an hour later, I don't know what that was about. I don't know what their characters' names were. I don't know anything. It was that boring, and it was that uneventful. That's not a good sign. Mm. That tells you Star Trek has run out of steam. You know?
Well, I hate to, yeah, you're right. It had at this point.
Yeah. They do get good episodes.
They do get better. Of course, as it goes along.
Yes.
I think because they are allowed to break out a little bit.
They were allowed to break out a little bit, and thankfully, the writers, producers, they saw who really made that show shine, and they brought the T'Pol trip thing to a head. They found what made Malcolm interesting and brought it to a head. But honestly, like I just said, Travis never gets any play. Hoshi may get an episode or two, but nothing ever of substance ever happens with her character or the Doctor. Anything major, nothing really. He may get in a bickering thing once in a while, but other than that, they might as well not even be there. Mm-hmm. Malcolm gets play, but that's it. And they found that that's when the show got better, when they finally realized, okay, maybe it's really just these guys. These are our stars.
I've been holding on to this, all this emotion for all these years.
I was thinking about it during the 45 minutes that I tried not to nod off watching this episode.
Ouch. Man, it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't great either. So let's wrap up this episode, okay. How it ends anyway. So as I was saying before you went on your diatribe here, Trip gets involved with who happens to be one of the real people, along with Renee. And, you know, she's interested in him, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But, so I think Malcolm is the one that uncovers that this ship has been down there for a lot longer than they're saying. He does some molecular tests or some kind of mumbo jumbo. It's actually been there for more like 20 years. Trip confronts this woman. She obviously doesn't want to talk about it. Big red flag. Something's going on here.
Yeah.
There's a kind of a conflict between, I think, yeah, that's right. They all go down to confront everyone. Then they get into a phaser fight. But of course, since they're holograms, they can't be shot. Then they start walking through walls. I'm like, okay, you guys can't figure out what's going on now. Come on. Then that girl that I just mentioned, I think her name is Liana. That's her character's name.
Yeah, I think so.
She went ahead and disconnected all of their memory ports, whatever, from the computer, which is what they really wanted the crew to fix. Well, Trip to fix anyway. But they actually ended up holding him hostage at one point, which is something I skipped over. But it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
That's where the episode pretty much ends. And they leave, and I'm not really sure if it was resolved or not. Maybe you could tell me, because it seems like they wanted to stay down there, and the crew wanted to bring them back. It's like, why do you want to stay on this planet? Why can't we can just get you out of here?
He didn't want to leave at that point because Odo had come to think of this as home, basically. But then he was not taking into account the fact that his daughter wanted to see some things.
Yeah, she had grown up. She was there. Yeah. She crashed on this ship with this ship when she was a child. She's grown up there. She's an adult now, but this is all she's ever known. All the people she's known have been fake.
Yeah.
They were based on the actual crew that died, and then Renee buried them. But again, they're all fake. So why would he want her to stay there? It seemed very irresponsible.
Well, once the Enterprise crew kind of gave her the courage to say, "Dad, I want to go," then he's like, "All right, we'll go home." That's it.
Well, it didn't seem like that's how it ended. It seemed like they actually did leave them there.
Yeah, but with he said, we can do this ourselves. You don't have to stay. This crew is actually very competent. I built them that way, so they're gonna fix it up and they're gonna go home. They just needed a couple things fixed.
There was never any question to Renee's character of like, how did you design such sophisticated holography? Like
he was the ship's engineer.
Enterprise crew had never seen anything like that before.
Obviously, I mean, just like that other species that they ran into, they just happened to have developed.
The Enterprise crew didn't even seem impressed.
Yeah, I don't know.
There was no acknowledgement of it at all. Like, that was so lifelike. They didn't say anything. Like,
that's a good point.
They acted like they'd seen holograms like that all
the time.
That's a very
good point. Yeah, which at that point would be a surprise to them.
It should have been.
Should have been.
It's
like, so lifelike.
Only Trip was the one who was in that holodeck in Unexpected.
That's true. And those were just landscapes, and it blew his mind. You're right.
Yeah, they didn't.
Again, just something they glossed over.
They carbon copied Shadow Play and then dumped it into the
they
Enterprise.
Thought, what episode can we steal that most people wouldn't even remember? And Shadow Play would definitely fit the bill, but then you gotta change it a little bit, make it something interesting, make it where the guy that lived is a bad guy or something, something interesting.
And then the big twist was that Renee's character, he felt responsible. He had the guilt that he killed the crew. So he stays there. It didn't seem to justify him wanting to stay there.
No, It doesn't make any sense.
But that was the big twist of it all. I was like, that's it. That's all we got. He was guilty, so he recreated them, and he made his daughter stay there. Why would he do that to her?
I know, it's stupid.
It didn't make any sense. And if he did give a reason, it wasn't believable because I've forgotten it.
Exactly. It's vapor.
Which is a shame because I like watching Renee act.
Sure.
So I don't have anything else to say about this one. It's a shame because it wasn't like... Again, it just felt like a wasted opportunity.
Every bit of it.
But I don't like dumping on Enterprise like this because I genuinely
I don't mean to dump on it. It's not. It's just when they have stinkers, they have stinkers. And when they have really good episodes, and I know there's many more coming, they do really good episodes. But man, when they strike out, they really strike out. They take all of Collected Trek and focus all of the worst elements of it into one episode. They're really good about doing that.
Do you have if you want to get on to the awards section of the episode, do you think anyone deserves the Shatner Award for Best Dramatic Performance?
No.
No?
That would require it being interesting.
That might, actually, yeah. I didn't think so either. What about the Janeway? The Janeway Country Music Award for sticking your nose in other people's business.
No.
Does Malcolm deserve that for spoiling their little...
Nah, he was just looking at some scans. He wasn't even going that deep.
Well, what about Archer himself for going down there in the first place?
He was just looking around.
Yeah, that's true.
No one told him not to go.
Yeah, they were
except the guy he ignored.
That's true. He did ignore the guy who gave him that warning that the ship was haunted. Yeah. Okay.
But if there had been people there that they knew about, then I would say maybe. But no, he was just poking around.
Okay. Best of, worst of. I would have to say the best scene would have to be the scene with Trip and T'Pol early on in the episode where T'Pol mentions to her that he was talking to Lyanna, and then immediately T'Pol jumps to conclusions and starts saying, oh, well, you know what happened the last time you got involved with an alien scientist? You ended up pregnant. And she was recalling the episode Unexpected, which was episode 5, I think, which
Something
was
like that.
a pretty good one, which was pretty funny. We liked that one. We gave it a good grade.
Yeah.
That they did that callback that was good, and that she was kind of having fun with him again. This is not the first time she's done this. She likes to take a dig on Trip's account. I really like that. I would say worst moment was, unfortunately, with Renee. I can't say his last name. That's why I'm avoiding saying it. He didn't give a bad performance, but it was at the end of the episode. I think it was the last scene with him and Archer, and he evokes the episode title name and said, I just didn't want to leave my little Oasis. I was like, oh God. Okay, fine. You guys clearly didn't have a title until you got to that point, did you?
Roll credits.
You just called it Shadow Play, and then you just erased it and wrote Oasis.
Yeah.
Do you have any moments you'd like to call out for best of or worst of?
For me, it was that line that I mentioned earlier, the you're driving.
Oh, right.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
The worst was everything that followed it.
Ouch.
Honestly, it was just painfully boring. You know, we had more fun, and this is going to be a go-to. We had more fun with their worst episode to date, Terra Nova, than we have with this or Rogue Planet, because Terra Nova is a lot of things, but it wasn't dull.
Yeah, I think that's what we said last time.
You know, well, here you go again. That's the worst crime. And for the 5th incarnation of a show with writers and producers that should know what works and what doesn't, my God, you have no excuse to make a boring one. A bad one, sure, but not a boring one. No reason. No reason whatsoever.
So what do you grade it?
A D. Especially,
A D, really?
I'm going to say a D, especially because it is a copy. It's not like it's its own bad. It copied.
Just for blatant plagiarism?
Blatant plagiarism and not even improving the formula. I mean, if you're going to copy it, at least find a way to improve it.
Okay.
So, yeah, big fat D.
Whew, yeah, you know what? I was going to give it maybe a C or a C minus, but because of that obvious plagiarism.
Yeah.
And it was...
If I was the writer of the Shadow Play episode, I'd sue them and go, you need to give me credit for that. Well, the fact that
Renee even called it out and said, we did something like this on our show.
And he was the star of that episode.
Yeah.
He was the trip.
That's just inexcusable. So
it is.
I'm going to knock it down to a D+. I didn't find it as bland as you did, but it was pretty bland. D+ is still not good, though.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. In the meantime, or in the interim, since the last episode and this one, didn't we get another comment?
Oh, yeah. Someone did leave us a...
Yes.
Thank you, by the way, for giving us a review on Apple Podcasts. MJ Evans. Basically, gave us some good notes there. Said we're no frills. We just jump right in. I think that's a way of saying we don't try really hard.
Well, I'm going to choose to take that as a compliment. In other words, yes, we get right into it. No fluff, and we're not BSing about our personal day. We're talking about what we're here to talk about, and that's it. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Did you come up with a name for that award?
The Janeway Award?
Yeah.
I still haven't yet.
Janeway Award for what was the...
Well, it's ultimately for not listening.
For not... But what was the original name you just came up with? What did you
the Janeway Award for the advice you just didn't take.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can work on that.
Okay.
What's coming up next?
Detained. Another missed opportunity.
I don't remember
That's
that
the one
either.
with Al, where Al comes to the show.
Are you sure?
Yeah, Detained.
Wait, don't look it up.
Yeah.
Just let me find out next week if I'm right or not. I want it to be a surprise.
Oh, about what the plot is?
No, if that really is, because I'm thinking of something else.
Pretty sure.
Let's not check it.
Okay.
Well, see you next week.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.